Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to my vlog for Nonfiction November. So this is going to be a 3-day weekend vlog because I have the Final Book Support Group next week, and I decided it was the perfect time to try to tackle the nonfiction books on my TBR. So I actually have 6 of them, which is 2 more than I have for the prompts. So I will run you through what I'm reading specifically for the prompts, and then I will mention the other 2. So first up, I have A Walk in the Woods, Rediscovering America on the Appalachian Trail, which I'm reading for Path. Obviously, we're walking on a trail, and we're going to get to follow the path that Bill Bryson took. Then for Shaw, I'm reading Tombstone, The Earp Brothers, Doc Holliday, and the Vendetta Ride from Hell, because I believe, is it 30 bullets were exchanged in 30 seconds. Sorry, Cielo, they can't see me. Sorry. She's so helpful. 30 bullets were exchanged in 30 seconds, and obviously bullets are shots, so this involves a shootout, which will have a lot of shots, so I'm using that for shot. I'm reading The Riddle of the Labyrinth, The Quest to Crack an Ancient Code for Code. I think this feels pretty self-explanatory. And then I'm reading Disability, Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century, because it is for Join, and because we see a bunch of people joining together to write this book. That's where I got that. Then, the other 2 books I have are my nonfiction that I chose for November, which is The Man... Cielo, seriously, I'm sorry, guys. She wants to be in the shot, and now she's knocking things over on my desk. She is something else. Not The Man, Not Your Average Girl, and this is by Becky Lynch. She is a wrestler. I really like her, and I've heard really good things, so I can't wait to hear her story in her own words. And we also get to go and follow her path as she takes a shot at becoming a wrestler. I don't think I can add code or join. I mean, maybe loosely. Maybe afterwards I'll have a better idea for that, but at least path and shot I think could fit for that one. And then, I don't know how I fit this for any of them, I have the Backyard Bird Chronicles. And I'm very excited for this because I've been really into birds, and like we have drawings and everything, and I'm like so excited to read this. So I have quite the eclectic mix, and we're going to try to get through all 6 of these in the next 3 days. I believe I would need to read 671 pages a day. I don't know how doable that is, but we're going to see. It depends on how fast they read and if they hook me, because if they hook me, I'll just want to keep reading. The other thing I am going to mention is that I'm like 56 pages into the spell shop, so if I need a break from nonfiction, I will probably pick this up. This is a cozy fantasy romance, and I am glad to kind of have a palate cleanser should I need it, though again, if I want to finish this entire stack, I don't know that I have room to read this too, but we'll see. We're going to do our best. So this is my goal for this weekend, is to read as much nonfiction as I can, and we're going to see how it goes. So I will check back in with you tomorrow on Saturday to let you know how I'm doing. 2 in the morning on Saturday, and I just remembered that I needed to check in because I did say I was going to check in. So, day 1 of reading nonfiction is done. I can tell you that I finished Tombstone, the Earp Brothers, Doc Holliday, and the Vendetta Ride from Hell. I gave this 3.75 stars. So this is obviously about the shootout at the OK Corral. I think that's what it's called, right? Yes. And there were 30 shots exchanged in 30 seconds. And I was really curious to see how Tom Clavin told this story. Fun fact, the very first R-rated movie my parents ever let me watch was Tombstone. So I have been aware of these people and some of their history since I was like 11. And of course, Cielo is here. Come here. So I was really, really curious to see how this was gonna play out. And I have to say, there were parts I really enjoyed that were really intriguing. I learned some things I didn't know. However, I was expecting it to kind of start at the OK Corral and kind of go from there. And it gave you a ton of backstory on who the Earp brothers were, how they grew up, people they met, people they married, people they dated, people they were interested in, their journeys, how they got to Tombstone, how Tombstone became Tombstone, because obviously they didn't discover Tombstone, the backgrounds of the people that discovered Tombstone. So at times it dragged and gave me information that I wasn't necessarily interested in. I will say that, and I'll let you discover the context for yourself, but Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, is mentioned in here. It's a brief mention just in passing, but if you had asked me, I would not have thought that Samuel Clemens and the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday were from the same era. So that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Anywho, I did enjoy this. I just wish we had gotten to the part with the shooting a little bit faster, because there was a lot of, like I said, background information that I didn't necessarily care about, so those parts dragged for me a little bit. Then I picked up A Walk in the Woods, and I'm on page 86, and I'm enjoying this. This is following Bill Bryson, who decides to walk the Appalachian Trail, which is a 2,100-mile walk. He brings an out-of-shape friend named Steven with him, and we're seeing kind of their journey and how they've started out and how it seems to be a lot harder than maybe they anticipated. They've also met some very interesting characters so far on their journey, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying getting to see their struggles. I'm enjoying, like I said, some of the people they met and how these people are enjoying the Appalachian Trail. So far, so good with this one. And then the last update I have is that I've started the Backyard Bird Chronicles. I am on page 12. However, I just want to preface this, that there are like 26 pages of text before, like a foreword that I read and then a preface that happened before the book actually starts. So I started reading those, and I actually feel like that means I read a little bit more than it seems like at 12 pages. I'm enjoying this so far. I'm already very, very intrigued. I am massively into birds. So this is so interesting. Like at one point she's already mentioned excited chickadees and titmice being excited for peanuts. And let me tell y'all, we have a little bird house that we've turned into like a bird feeder. It's a little purple roof, and we call it the Peanut Hut because we put little peanuts in it, and they get so excited when they've realized we've hung out the Peanut Hut. So I totally know what she's talking about there. Also, I'll give you a fun bird story that made me smile from yesterday. And by yesterday, I mean the 7th, not today the 8th. Or today the 9th. I'm so confused. Anyways, I mean the 7th. I went out because there were squirrels and chippies, and I was going to feed them peanuts. And as I'm throwing peanuts, shelled ones, to the chippies, a blue jay lands. And as I'm throwing the peanut, like in the process of letting it go, it screams at me, sees the peanut land, takes it, and flies off. So the Blue Jay realized that I'm the person that brings out the peanuts and came over to demand one from me, which made me smile. The 8th, Friday, so today, I went out and I have like the Temptation cat treat containers that I use to like scoop the critter food to pour it out. And I took the critter food and I put extra peanuts on top. And as I'm walking, I'm throwing peanuts that are on top of this container to the squirrels. And I'm waiting. And a red-headed woodpecker landed and stole one. And a titmouse came down and stole one, which is hilarious because titmice are tiny birds and they're flying off with these like giant peanuts. It's very hilarious. And then I looked down and I realized that one of the chipmunks that I was feeding is sitting in between my feet. So I toss him some peanuts and I watch him run off. He is Dale. We've named two of them Chip and Dale because we know where their like tunnels are. So Dale runs off. I throw a couple of peanuts to another couple squirrels, look down, and there's another chipmunk there. I toss some peanuts there, and he runs off, and it's Chip. So Chip and Dale had followed me into the yard to get peanuts today. So those little critters are definitely making my heart happy, and I'm already enjoying this book because I can already relate to some of the stories she's telling, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the birds she encounters and some fun interactions that she has because I think I'm really, really going to enjoy this one. So that's my update. I did not hit the amount of pages I needed to read if I was going to get through the whole stack, but I finished one book and made a little bit of progress in another and a decent bit of progress in a third, so I'm pretty happy with that. I also managed to edit my May book haul. So we're getting there. Tomorrow I have to film, so that's going to eat into my time because I'm going to be filming, hopefully, well, definitely my final book support group TBR because that starts Monday, so I kind of need to get that out to y'all, which means I need to film it so I can edit it. And then I'm going to film my queer book club options for December so that you guys have time to vote on that. And then if I have time, I'm going to film my September and my October book hauls, which are just a wee bit bigger than June, July, and August because I was talking to Omi today. The raw footage of June, July, and August book hauls, none of which is over 12 minutes each. The edited footage of May's is 18. So you can see the difference in the number of books. And I get the feeling that September and October's are probably going to be more around that 20-30 minute range than a 10-minute video. So, and November's is going to be probably even worse than that because I literally put in a book outlet order that's like 38 books. So yeah. Anywho, I'm going to wrap this clip up here because I need to go read and get ready for bed and stuff like that. And I will check back in with you at some point, probably after midnight on the 10th, to let you know how I did on the 9th. Chris here. Like the last vlog, I accidentally deleted a clip from this vlog, which makes me so angry because I was really, really happy with this vlog and getting to read all of the nonfiction, and it frustrates me that this is the vlog I deleted a clip from because it was so cool to actually be able to have a themed vlog because I don't get to do those very often. So obviously I'm not going to be able to recreate that clip. I can tell you that during that clip, I started Riddle of the Labyrinth, and in the final clip, I will let you know what I thought of it. I don't believe I made any more progress in that clip during the Backyard Bird Chronicles, but I did finish A Walk in the Woods, and I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. So part of the reason I did that is because obviously we're following Bill on his journey on the Appalachian Trail, and he brings his friend with him, and his friend is really obnoxious, and I did not like him. I also wasn't the hugest fan of Bill. The parts I did like was getting to hear about the different areas of the Appalachian Trail that they actually got to see, hearing some of the pros and cons of actually hiking the whole thing, how well he does at giving you the scope of how long the Appalachian Trail really is. And of course, the interesting and eclectic group of people he meets along his journey. That part I did like. I just didn't necessarily love his friend or some of his thoughts that we got during that book. So it definitely gave me an appreciation for the Appalachian Trail. It's made it very clear it is not something that I should ever do. However, it definitely kind of hyped up the idea of the Appalachian Trail being a thing, and I can see how maybe a day trip would be really, really cool. I don't regret my read of it, and my dad is currently reading it right now, and he's enjoying it, so it is an interesting nonfiction if you'd like to check it out, but it wasn't my favorite, and it certainly was not my favorite that I read during this readathon. So apologies again for editing Chris having to pop in and give you an update, and hopefully I've taken care of that and you won't see me again anytime soon. Well, you'll see filming me, but not editing me. You know what I mean. Anyways, back to past Chris to continue this vlog. So it is 10 of 2 on Monday morning, and I've actually managed to check in before 2 a.m. Go me! And it is definitely time to wrap this vlog up. I did not get to the Backyard Bird Chronicles again today, which bummed me out because I'm really enjoying that. But I did finish the other 2 books on my Nonfiction November TBR, so I have completed my entire Nonfiction November TBR, so that makes me pretty happy. So firstly, I finished The Riddle of the Labyrinth, The Quest to Crack an Ancient Code. I ended up giving this 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed hearing how everybody, hello, Cielo, went about working on this and how the history of Linear B, which was the language they were trying to crack, was found, was discovered, was worked on. We follow 3 different people. Let me see if I can easily give you their names. Arthur Evans, who uncovered the tablets that had this language on it. Alice Kober, who was an American scholar, and Michael Ventris, an English architect who was the one who finally solved the riddle. And it was interesting to see how each of them contributed to the breaking of this code, how each of them went about trying to decipher it. And also, again, just the different ways that you can work to crack codes or crack languages like this. And I really liked that it had like pictures, so you could kind of visualize what you were looking at. Although it could be hard sometimes when you're listening to the audiobook, because I'd have to pause the audiobook to read sections because they didn't go over it in the audiobook, because it would have been a little hard to translate into an audio form. So I don't know how good this is for audio listeners only, but I still thought it was really fascinating and I enjoyed my time with it. So very, very happy that this readathon has inspired me to pick this up because I quite enjoyed it. And then the other book I read was Disability Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century, and I gave this 4 stars. Fun fact, the first story in here is not in the audiobook. And then there's a story towards the end that's not in the audiobook, at least in the audiobook copy I was listening to. And there's a story in the audiobook that isn't in this physical copy. So that was interesting. This is a book of essays that are written by people who are dealing with disabilities, and we see a wide variety of disabilities, and we hear different stories from different POVs, some of which kept me engaged more than others, hence the 4-star rating. But I do think this is a very important book because it just goes to show the breadth of disabilities that people deal with and the lack of accommodations that are out there for so many different people. And it is interesting to see what each of these authors chose to highlight in their essays. I think we need to make things more accessible for those with disabilities. As somebody who is autistic and has an anxiety disorder, I get easily overstimulated. I struggle with bright lights and sounds. I literally have no idea how I used to go to concerts. I truly don't. Or like, I went to go see wrestling. And I'm realizing now, maybe in hindsight a little bit more, that what I thought was like post-concert depression was actually post-concert burnout, because I had forced myself into a situation that I couldn't realistically handle without needing that time afterwards to recharge, because I had just completely overwhelmed myself. I know I've told my mom that if I were to ever go to another concert again, I would want like headphones. And my mom was like, well, what's the point then? If you can't hear them, what's the point? I'm like, you can still hear them. There are headphones that will allow you to hear, but it muffles the sound a little bit so that you don't do as much damage to your ears. And I know I saw Five Sauce in 2016, and I was like feet away from a wall of amps with this ear, and I still have problems with this ear today. So like in that hindsight, I would also want them just to protect my hearing, or like earplugs or something, just something to kind of dim the noise. And I would purposely plan to give myself days afterwards to recover, because I think now I realize just how much noise and sounds get to me. So I think the fact that that is something that you can see, the overstimulation, the issues with sight, sense, sounds. I think that is something you see in a lot of different disabilities. And I think just in my own personal experience, realizing just how little accommodation there is for that has opened my eyes. And this opened my eyes to different like disabilities and ways that accommodations aren't made. Like, let me highlight one of them, because I hadn't even considered or knew that this was a thing. Where is it? It's on New York's paratransit, fighting for safety, respect, and human dignity. And we're following a person who is talking about this transit company that specifically is for disabled individuals that can't like ride the subway in New York City, and how hard it is to utilize, because it could sometimes take 2 hours for you to get to your appointment because of the way that it is set up. That if you're like 5 minutes late meeting the bus, they could just leave and you could get in trouble. Like, I think kind of get docked points or have points put on your record, so eventually you could lose access. But if they're like 30 minutes late, it's fine. It's after that that you can like call a cab and they'll eventually reimburse you, but you have to have the money to shell out for the cab first, and then it could take days for them to reimburse you. And just how complicated the system is, and how this particular person is actually working to advocate for better resources for it, to changes to the system, has talked to drivers who want to be able to change the system too. So it was just interesting, because I did not know that that was a thing in New York City. So there were some things like that I had never considered, because I had never heard of it. And that just goes to show you how low the visibility for disabilities is, which is why a book like this is so important. And I hope there will be more books with topics like this to bring attention to the fact that even as somebody who has disability issues, I am not well versed in every disability out there and the accommodations that every single person with a disability would need. And I can always learn more. And so it was quite interesting to see that. Another thing recently, I have switched from Twitter to Blue Sky. My link for Blue Sky is in the description below if you're on there and you want to add me. I'm trying to be a lot more active over there than I ever was on Twitter, because Twitter has turned into a complete cesspool. And one of the things I have found really cool about Blue Sky is there is a setting that you can put on, and you have to do it for each device. So like if you're logged in on your computer versus your phone, but you can make it so that it will prompt you to put alternate text on pictures that you're posting. And I always forget. It is something I always forget to do. And on Blue Sky, it does not let you forget to do them. And this is something simple that you can do that makes pictures and social media more accessible to somebody who has vision issues. Or like they said, has low connectivity and they're trying to get the context of the picture with the post that you put. So I just think that's so neat that I'm now on a site that promotes that kind of stuff and makes it very easy for you to have a gentle reminder of, oh, hey, you haven't done this yet. Don't forget to do that before you hit post. So I hope we continue to get stuff like this and that we continue to fight for people with disabilities to have more accessibility, because they deserve to have access to things that, everybody else does. And they deserve to have everything that they need to live a full and rich life. And I didn't get drawn into every story, so that's why it gets a 4. But this is absolutely a book I would 1000% recommend you read, because it really is eye-opening, and I feel like I learned a lot just by reading it. It makes me want to learn more. So in addition to reading 100 pages almost of the Backyard Bird Chronicles, more than that if you consider that there was like 30 pages of text before page 1 that I did read, I got through all 4 of my books for Nonfiction November. Tombstone for Shot, Riddle of the Labyrinth for Code, A Walk in the Woods for Path, and Disability Visibility for Join. I'd say that's a successful weekend reading vlog. I'm pretty happy with that. I also had a lot of fun, and I'm sad that this is my first Nonfiction November and is also going to be Olive's last. So I just want to say thank you, Olive, for hosting, and I'm so glad that I got to take part. And I'm hoping to do it again next year, even if you aren't around to prompt us all to read, because I had a lot of fun with it, and I feel like I've heard about it many, many times in the past, and I feel like you have built a legacy that will far precede you hosting Nonfiction November. So I'll see you back here this time next year, everybody, for some more nonfiction reads. Even if we don't have Olive coming up with creative prompts to prompt us to read, I'm going to try to make it a point to add some extra nonfiction to my November TBRs. That's going to be all for this vlog. All of my social media will be linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a bear emoji, since there's a bear on the cover of this book. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!